That was Dean Martin with That's Amore. Now, earlier in the show, I asked you to phone in if you've bought some Valentine's gifts for your other half. And on the line, I have John Ashe. Are you there, John?
Hello, Mark. I am here. John Ashe here from Basingstoke. John Ashe with an E. And yes, indeed, I've bought some flowers for my other half.
Oh, that's lovely, John. That's lovely to hear.
Well, you might think it's lovely to hear, but the reason why I'm phoning in is because I've had yet another incident with yet another thing, and today on Valentine's Day, it's to do with the flowers that I bought for my other half. At least I thought I bought flowers, and in fact what's turned up is a box, and a box that is extremely heavy, and when I open it up, inside I don't find flowers, I find, believe it or not, I find flour. Flour. Can you believe that?
How do you mean flower? Do you mean just one flower?
No, I don't mean one flower. I mean flour. It's sort of white and sort of powdery, and it's in paper bags, and use it to make things like bread.
Oh, flour. So Flour then, not Flower.
Exactly right.
Oh, John.
Now, this is extremely frustrating because I thought that I had bought flowers for my wife, and it's turned out to be just these packets of flour. And I've got all kinds here, very impressive actually for a box. And it has, well, what does it have? It's plain flour and self-raising flour and artisan flour and stone ground flour and wholemeal flour and strong bread flour, some of it with yeast, some of it without yeast. And so it's quite nice. I'm quite pleased with it in that sense. But that's not what I paid for. It's not what I asked for.
No. I mean, how, if you don't mind me asking, John, how could that mistake have arisen?
You might well ask, and indeed you have. Well, I'll tell you why, and I think this is how it's happened. I don't know this is how it's happened, but, you know, one conjectures. I went in person into Basingstoke to order this, and I went to the shop called The Flower Shop. Mm-hmm. It's one of those, it's a strange kind of shop because it's sort of spelt like flower, excuse me, O-W-E-R, but it's also in brackets O-U as well. And the reason for that is because when you actually go in the shop, you find there are two counters, and they have some sort of reciprocal arrangement with this business where part of it is to sell flowers, the kind of thing that you put in the bars, and part of it is to sell flowers, the kind of thing that you would then, you know, make bread from and that sort of thing. So you go to the right counter. Well, I went to the right counter. I'm absolutely sure that I went to the right counter, and I placed my order for this lovely bunch of flowers for my wife, and lo and behold, what happens? A box of flowers. Flowers, not flowers.
Yeah. What? Okay. I mean, will your wife? Will she like receiving flowers, the white stuff, or what are you going to do about it?
Well, absolutely, she would not be at all pleased about that. No. And so what I have already done is I've phoned them up and I've told them the situation, and they've said to me that they are happy to make a replacement. But there's a slight issue, which is causing just a little bit of, well, just a little bit to and fro for a few minutes anyway, but I think we've got to the bottom of it now. Unfortunately, I had used some of the flour to make Turkish lamb flatbread, and so, of course, part of the box of flour is missing. So they said, that's okay, we'll come and collect, which is very nice of them, we'll come and collect the remaining bags of flour, and then we will give you, in return, most of the flowers that you ordered in the first place. So I think it might be just missing a carnation, perhaps a little bit of, you know, background foliage, that sort of thing.
Okay.
You should be all right with that.
Yeah, and are they going to be able to do that today, John? You know, because you've got to get it done today, haven't you? Valentine's Day and all that.
I stressed that point, and they stressed back to me that yes, they can. Oh,
okay. Well, look, I'm really pleased that story has a happy ending, John, and I'm sure your wife will be very pleased with her selection of flowers, even albeit possibly missing a carnation or something.
I think she will be. Yeah, I think she will be pleased, and she'll also be pleased by the Turkish lamb flatbread.
Of course.
I'm pretty certain of that.
Of course. Now, John, before you go, John, have you got a special request for us today?
I do have a special request, and the reason for this is because it's Valentine's Day, and you wouldn't guess it, but this happens to be one of my wife's. I meant to say that.
Yes.
Wives. One of my wife's favourite songs. And it also happens to be one of my favourite songs too, because I danced to it as a young man, and it is sung by Boy George. It's Culture Club's Karma Chameleon, 1983, off their Colour by Numbers album. Great stuff.
That's lovely, John. We'll play that for you now. Do you have any shout out for anybody who might be listening?
Well, I did wonder, I was thinking about this week, and maybe this week, could we shout out to Maud?
Yes, of course, we'll do that for you, John. Lovely to hear from you, John. Glad it all worked out for you. And have a great Valentine's Day.
Thank you very much. And you. Great show.
Cheers. Bye, John.
Bye.
Darren's Valley's radio station.